What's up guys, Momo-Dog here with a brand new video, this time a review video actually, since shout out to QRD game. I was sent a level-less wireless stick, and I've never tried one of these before. This kind of reminds me of all those hitboxes, and QRD game was kind enough to send me one to test and also review them. And I'm very interested in doing so because, you know, there are a lot of friends of mine finally switched to level-less, to hitboxes or whatever. And most of them also kind of reported that they are super good for playing Mishimas and like consistent execution and things alike. So very, very stoked to try this out. So the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to open this bad boy up. See if I can get this out of here from the get-go. And this is what the bad boy looks like. So this is my first time testing the buttons on this. And it already kind of feels very nice, I'm not gonna lie. I had one arcade stick in my life and it was a Quanma drone. And I remember back then I didn't really like what the buttons felt like. But so far this already feels pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I was also sent a wireless adapter or converter. Apparently this is for like if you want to use this on PS5. So this is probably what you're gonna need to make this work on a PS5. I believe on a PC you should be able to make it work right away. If you're gonna go to offline tournaments or whatever, you should probably get one of these too. They were kind enough to send me one with it. This is the cable, I believe, for... Let's see, this seems like this is the cable to connect the stick to begin with. And they were also kind enough to send me some replacement buttons here. Ooh, they're colorful. I'll probably put these on later after I'm done testing the stick. I'm gonna leave it as is for now. And next step after this unboxing will be testing. And not only I will test it, so I get like two opinions at once. I will also have a friend of mine test it who has a lot of sticks to compare this with. That also includes level-less sticks. And yeah, next part of the video will probably be the testing. So I'll catch you there. This was the unboxing.
Welcome back everyone, we are now at the testing part, and the way I approach this is basically I recorded myself doing some of the most, popular Divulgent things. Stuff like Instant Voicing 2, an electric staple, and then of course also movement, because movement is key with this character. And basically what I felt with this controller was that even though I gave myself only like 20 minutes max to see how fast I would be getting comfortable with this, I was surprisingly good at executing my stuff with this controller. You will also see a match that I played in the later part of this testing. And basically, I think the execution you can learn with this controller, you can learn it very, very, very quickly. Like it took me like 3 minutes max to chain like 5 electrics in a row. It took me like 2 minutes to chain 2 instant voicing 2s in a row, like 3 in a row. Learning that voicing 2 Morning Crow 4 combo also didn't take me that long, and I even managed to land it in a match right away. So when it comes to execution, I think level-less controllers in general are already a kind of a cheat code. And especially when you don't want to strain yourself with like levers and stuff, it's perfectly understandable. There are a lot of people who kind of felt strained playing arcade sticks and then switched to level-less. I think this is a very good stick to get into for like a beginner. The price range is pretty okay. I also tested the Haute and the Victrix Pro to, you know, get a comparable, statistic on the feel. And I'll have to say the Victrix Pro and the Haute did feel better, like the buttons at the very least. But overall, I like the design of this QWERTY controller. And I also like next to the design, I also kind of like the quality of it. Like for the price range, it's okay. At the end of this testing part, you will also see like 3 different ratings that I gave this controller. And now you also got some footage of me playing a real match with this. As I said, I only gave myself like 15 or 20 minutes to play around with this thing. And then I hopped onto a match right away, and honestly I performed pretty well for the fact that I'm still super confused with the up button placement. It will confuse you too at first, I believe, unless you were a stick player before or whatever. And also the button placement also kind of irritated me at first. So as you can see here, for example, I tried to press up 1+2, instead I pressed I don't know what I exactly pressed, but the up button being down there kind of confused me. So in the later part of the match, I also tried sidestepping into the background to get more used to it. But I'll be very honest with you, give me like a week or so with this controller if I were to actually switch to it. And I think I could become like a beast with the execution on this thing. The one thing I felt I was getting used to very slowly was the Korean backdash, but that's pretty normal for any controller you switch to, honestly. So even if you switch to level less, it will take you quite a while to get used to a Korean backdash. Wave dashing, I feel like I could already get done a somewhat consistent wave dash in the first few minutes. So practicing a bit day by day, probably very helpful. And the thing I like the most about this controller, like about sticks in general, I don't use claw grip on my pad. So breaking 1+2, for example, I do it manually, and sometimes the game just doesn't want to register my inputs at the same time, and I'm just free to 1+2 inputs when I'm not fast enough. With this, when I was practicing throw breaking, 1+2 throw breaks were honestly pretty free, so, you know, something to also keep in mind. Overall, I genuinely like the feel of this QRD controller. I like the design, like I like the black color, and I'm not necessarily a fan of LEDs, but you know, they're a great touch to it. And the buttons felt okay, so like quality-wise, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. I like the design a lot, so 5 out of 5 there. And for the feel, I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. The recording ends here, and the last thing I want to say is that this controller also supports wireless. I didn't mention this at first because I don't think wireless or LEDs are really important for a fighting game controller. However, one thing to keep in mind, wireless usually tends to be more comfortable for you, especially with the cable not annoying you and all of that. One thing to keep in mind though, in tournaments, I don't think wireless controllers are legal. You'll have to see into your local rules. I believe for TWT rules, wireless is not allowed, so make sure to bring your cable along instead of just a stick for, you know, the wireless and plugging in. Other than that, I generally like the controller. I think level-less is probably the future. It will be the future of tech and executions. Like with Hitbox starting everything, I think a lot of people are going to follow. Most of the pro players I know, at least in Europe, already switched to Hitbox. So like, for example, Jot or Super Akuma have been playing on Hitbox for quite a while now, which is also level-less. And honestly, Mishima execution with this is so much easier than with a pad or an arcade stick. So, you know, one thing to keep in mind. Overall, I'll give this thing a 3.5 out of 5. I just felt like the Victrix Pro and Taote 42 felt better quality-wise, and also like the buttons felt better to me, so I feel like I get used to them much easier and much quicker. But for a beginner level-less controller, I think this is a great choice, honestly. So, you know, if you feel like you want to get into the level-less scene and you want to try something out without spending all too much money, I believe the Hitbox and the Victrix are both much more expensive in comparison. This thing's also somewhat very compact. It's very small, fits on your lap and in your hands pretty perfectly. So keep that in mind when you consider getting into the level-less controllers. I think, like as I said, I think this is a great beginner's choice. Momo out. I'll be back with a review, well, not much later, I believe. Pretty soon, actually. So see you soon. Peace, 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 and hope you like the review.